talent management. So we will kind of be more granular, as next few sessions.
Right. It's not clearly visible, slide. It's coming a little faded. The words are blurry.
Okay.
Now it's clear. Okay, now it's clear.
I guess there is a latency.
Okay.
So see, basically, this session is more about models of talent management. So there are no specific well-known models as such, but
Right.
what we will do is basically we will take an overview of the regular model that is used, and then when we are talking about the strategy next week, we can probably talk about the different ways one can do talent modeling. So uh, so I guess the day really starts with identifying talent needs. Now, some organizations do this. Some organizations kind of assume whatever is handed over to them, that is talent management, and they just carry on the beaten track. So there are different so one of the first things that people need to kind of look at are the new roles. Now, where do you think the new role really comes from in any organization?
New roles would come from the within the organization, with the development, with the changes, uh, that would lead to new roles getting designed.
Yeah, what kind of changes?
Like within the industry, certain developments happening, and that would through that the need for such new roles. Like for instance, in our industry, there is constant development in a certain product. So basis that to fulfill those needs, or from the either from the competition or from the industry itself, the roles are coming up, that could lead to a new role generation sometimes to
Yeah,
fulfill
good.
that.
So needless to say, there are two kinds of changes which are happening without fail. One is that our organizations are trying to do new things every time, to sometimes to stay where they are, and sometimes to maybe take two steps forward. So there are definitely new roles which are coming up every now and then, and also maybe sometimes the organization diversifies. So when it diversifies, immediately there is a new business ask that you need new people, new talent, and different kinds of qualifications and competencies.
Yeah.
So for example, the organization that I work in, one of the things, one of the new focus areas is how to kind of be omni-channel. So earlier it was mostly connecting with customers through a voice interface, but now it's omni-channel because more and more clients are coming up and saying that they need an omni-channel presence. So if we are to work with them, we need to be able to track any presence across platforms. So it could be WhatsApp, it could be Instagram, it could be Facebook, anything. So how do you do digital marketing across so many platforms? So definitely now the requirement would be that you need profiles who would be able to understand those platforms and be able to integrate current offerings along with future offerings. So new roles are very critical, and they really come out from your strategy, your go-to-market plan, uh, uh, maybe your new budget, your new um, annual operating plan. So all of those are inputs into new roles that the organization may need. Then what are the different types of leadership that you would need? And um, so my sense is, most organizations don't really think through all of these nuances. But when we are doing a course on talent management, it's very important that we know what are ideal types, what is ideally the records that any organization or department should be taking. So you have new types of leadership, and so now you would probably, um, you know, Arpita, which organization are you in?
I'm in DAXA in freight forwarding.
freight forwarding.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, okay. So, so logistics and supply chain, I
right.
guess,
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So those are kind of technology to kind of plan to send things from one place to another. I guess that is constantly changing,
Yes.
and yeah, you would need leadership which is able to kind of understand the new technologies, the new planning methodologies. So these are again very critical changes, because
Mm.
the leadership, the moment we use the word leadership, what we are saying is people who are decision makers.
Right.
And so therefore you cannot afford to get somebody on board who is a decision maker but unfortunately is not equipped to take decisions.
Mm.
So you would need that sort of a leadership who understands the nuances and the dynamics of the changing marketplace in your industry.
Right.
So
Also, I think with the COVID thing, with the work from home, I think in logistics it was so far out, outreach was really limited to this industry, and even the thinking, the mindset that this could be done, while the absolute top leadership was convinced, the ones below, the BU heads and all, it took a little setback to them that this could be done in our industry. So that got exposed a little bit. Now of course they are getting more attuned to it, so that was an
yes,
experience.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, COVID has been a hugely, high impact experience across
Mm,
industries, and many people were kind of, caught napping. People said, "Oh, we have a business continuity plan. We have
mm,
plans for eventualities. We have plans for emergencies." But when COVID actually hit the industry, a lot of companies were clueless. What to do, how to go about dealing with the situation. And but I guess of course people kind of turned around. Some companies were fairly good at turning around. They looked sharp and did things which were innovative,
mm,
and were able to quickly change gears and deal with the current situation.
right.
But many companies were not also. So and people are kind of not sure what to do. I mean, just kind of an example. For example, now I noticed that this is only ISTD Delhi chapter, and this
Right.
is not ISTD All India, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. This one is
So
Delhi chapter.
okay, so so my submission would be that why do we now need a Delhi chapter at all? Because we are not meeting face to face anymore. So and we are meeting on Zoom. So you might as well have integrated all chapters, and
Mm,
people can do sessions. So, but we are carrying on using the new processes, but the structure is still the old structure. We haven't really kind of
mm.
changed.
Maybe down the line, yeah.
Yeah,
This,
maybe down the line,
yeah.
but currently we have not responded to change as rapidly as some organizations have. For example,
Mm,
in our organization, let's say we have 4,000 employees in India, and we were able to move to a work from home kind of a context
mm,
within about 48 hours.
mm,
So everybody moves work from home, and systems were made available, laptops were made available, sometimes on rent, etc.
right.
So uh, it's basically so what kind of new leadership do you need,
Yeah.
then the new skills that are required if you are working from home, or if you're using new software, or if you're using new planning methods. So then naturally there would be
Mm,
new skills that would be required, and so therefore it's very important that we identify all of this. So this probably kind of is in a way the first step. And then of course how many people in each area, that clarity is very important, that when you're doing manpower planning, how many people you need in each department, so to say. So these are some of the very important talent needs, questions around talent needs that need to be addressed. So you look at all of those, and then you say that, okay, now I may have some of it in house,
mm,
and some of it may not be in-house. So the next step obviously to do is to look at what are the talent gaps? So to plug those gaps, should I get more people? Should I get new people? So these are questions that any talent manager will have to ask, and any talent manager definitely does not operate kind of as a lone ranger. He or she will need to work with HR and with the manpower planning department
Right.
in terms of how to plan for this. And then so the talent manager, the flavor that the talent manager brings in really is addressing the missing skills.
Mm.
This is the critical responsibility of talent manager, because the HR planning folks are always looking at the numbers. They are not, unless there is some big elephant in the room saying that, okay, now we have changed direction and we need somebody to do artificial intelligence. So then there's a different story. Definitely even the manpower planning people will look at bringing in artificial intelligence experts and so on and so forth. But
Right.
otherwise typically they don't look at when the kind of skills that are required. So the missing
Mm-hmm.
skills is
Right.
something that the talent manager needs to bring in.
Needs
The
to be.
talent manager could be somebody who's double hatting as a L&D manager also, but could also be somebody who's a standalone talent manager.
Right.
So these are very important.
Yeah.
So now that one gets a sense of that, so one looks at how to design recruiting and hiring plans.
Mm.
And uh, what are the new roles? What are the vacancies we need to fill? So these are ideally when in the beginning of the year, when the budgeting is happening and the planning is happening, these are things, if one has clarity on that, that would be very good.
Right.
However, given the pace of change, particularly this year, so there may be a lot of ad hoc planning also that
Mm.
would go on. And
Right. Mm.
so that is something which happens in many organizations. You would come across that moment somebody says that, I need a new MIS, or I need a additional assistant manager to kind of be here.
Mm.
So
Mm.
immediately you will get a pushback from everyone. This is not budgeted. While you can create your business case saying that even the new business that I've got was not budgeted. Yeah, so
Right.
I'm well within my rights to ask for a additional headcount because I'm dealing with a situation which was not part of the original plan. So
Also, what is working for us is in certain roles, at least we are able to fill in from other locations, which previously was a never acceptable thing. So, recently in finance for a Mumbai based AP position, I filled from Delhi because
okay,
the resource was readily available, and now it's acceptable because all are working from home.
okay,
Most of it, at least in most roles, we are working from home. So,
yeah,
um,
true.
so that has expanded the horizon a bit for us.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. So that's exactly the thinking I'm talking about. That now suddenly, kind of a friend, she migrated to Australia,
Mm.
and she has a small trading company in Australia. And I'm in touch with her on LinkedIn, and
Mm.
that's all. So I see sometimes she kind of uploads things on LinkedIn about her, what module she's doing, and some motivational talk and stuff like that.
Okay.
And that's about it. Recently I got a request from a company saying that they needed XYZ training, and it had to be done only virtually. Talked to her, and she said, yeah, I will do it from Australia. And she actually did it from Australia, and it worked out very well. So earlier
Mm.
one would never have thought that somebody kind of would be training us from outside
Different,
India.
internationally, correct.
So new ways are coming up, and one therefore needs to kind of integrate that in talent management as well. So moving on, the other option in project management, you always have two options. One is to buy, one is to make.
Mm.
So buy is you hire or you source it from outside, and make is to develop it from inside your internal resources.
Mm.
So that is a important thought that goes behind talent management. One of the companies I worked for, there was a clear, conscious decision that unless there is some enormous pressure from any external agencies, we will not hire anybody from outside for manager and above. So
Right.
all manager and above positions were to be promoted internally. And so therefore internal talent development also became that much more critical. So for that, one has to identify who are the right people for that, develop that talent. That is critical. So so moving on, in terms of when you are hiring from outside or you're developing internally,
This
there is a
develop the sorry, I'm interrupting. The develop
yeah.
the talent bit is could be the same like the high pose like we discussed last time in the previous slide when you
Yes,
mentioned.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Provided the company already has a high potential development plan, has a robust talent management plan. Uh,
Mm.
so that is typically for succession planning and backfill. While if you are getting into a new industry, then what we discussed last time may not really fulfill the purpose, because this is a new area of work, and sometimes you may have to go out and hire talent. But yes, if you fill the positions internally, then yes, what we discussed last time definitely makes a lot of sense, that your high potentials will be assigned to these responsibilities.
Right. Can I just see the previous slide once for a
Yeah,
second?
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks.
So, so there was a, there is a Harvard management survey, and
Mm.
basically into talent management and into management practices, and they threw up some surprising, statistics. So, 19% said that they actually very closely screen the talent and hire the right fit. Also, only 19% do it kind of very closely. Uh, Only 3% said that they regularly develop their people. And this was a global survey. And another 8% said that they do everything to retain their high performers. So the numbers are abysmally low. And if we were to kind of transpose these numbers to, let's say, customer management, if 19% say that, we kind of only 19% tries to uh, ensure that the customer is treated right, or only 3% try to engage with customers, 8% say that they try to retain customers, that would be a total disaster for the business.
Mm.
Now, unfortunately, in the area of talent management, uh, because it is not monitored enough, maybe it is not important enough. It is combination of probably both, that it's suboptimal. The practices in talent management are suboptimal as compared to the lens that all businesses go to handle customers, to retain customers, to grow customer base. So, uh, so that's shows that there is a lot of room for improvement in talent management. So, some of the things that are very important for the situation to improve, first of all, is to involve the leaders in the talent development management process. Now, very often, what happens is the thought is that, "Arey, this is HR work. This is not really,
Mm.
uh, a regular leader's job. This is HR's job." So that is, I think, the first mistake that businesses make, that we feel that it is HR's responsibility and not everybody's responsibility. It has to be everybody's responsibility, particularly the leader's responsibility, because my experience has been that whatever the leader prioritizes in an organization, that gets focused upon and that gets done.
Right.
And if the leader feels that talent management is not important or is just an HR task, then it will always fall, on the sidelines, and never get the attention that it deserves. So therefore, first of all, very importantly, the leaders need to be involved. The leaders need to see themselves as custodians of talent management, because increasingly, while if you remember last time we talked about the balance scorecard,
Yeah.
and increasingly people are realizing that people are the differentiators. The talent that you have in your organization, that is what differentiates your competitive capability. But unfortunately, while we are realizing this, but the practice continues to be the regular practice of just focusing on revenue and bottom line. So, so therefore, very critical that leaders are involved in this process. I used to work in Genpact, and one of the things I noticed over there is Pramod Bhasin used to be the chairman of Genpact,
Mm.
and one of the things he had in his mind was that uh, we used to run a program which was called New Manager Orientation, which was basically manager till senior VP. They would go
Okay.
through a residential induction program for 2 days. And Pramod Bhasin used to make it a point to go and be there in front of those 25, 30 new joinees and meet them for at least 45 minutes to 1 hour
Mm.
and interact with them, because he felt that the leader has to be aligned to the key talent pipeline of the organization, and therefore he used to kind of go out of his way to go to a hotel one end of Gurgaon and go and meet them.
Right.
Sometimes he even flew down to Hyderabad, where we had a leadership development center, and he would go and address them.
Mm.
So he and there were three or four other leaders as well who were part of the board, and they made it kind of part of their core responsibility to meet every single batch that would come. So between them, they made sure that they had met every single batch that was coming in, and
Mm-hmm.
there was a batch practically every month.
Right.
So therefore, this is very critical. Involve the leaders for the success. Next is to make sure their part is practical and simple. So sometimes what happens is HR feels that okay, now that the leader is involved, they are part of this program. So that's an absolutely wrong assumption. They are part of the program only to uh, kind of address them, or maybe do the lighter part of it, the hard work behind the scenes in terms of figuring out who are your top talents, figuring out what is the plan that you have to develop them, figuring out whether there are skill gaps. These are all things which involve a lot of effort, and this is basically core talent management slash HR responsibility. Leadership will enable, but leadership will not, you know, do these things for you.
Correct.
So this is something that HR and talent have to be very clear about.
Right.
Unfortunately, I've come across examples where HR feels that also the leader is involved, no, so they will do it, and they will kind of help us, identify the top 10%. We have given them the criteria, so we have shared the Excel sheet. Now let them come up with the top 10%. So that doesn't happen, and that
Mm.
particular instance which I'm sharing with you, that also did not happen. And HR patiently kept waiting for leadership to get back, and they never got back. And HR said, "Arey, look at your leadership; they're not helping with this." Then I had to
Mm-hmm.
disabuse them of their expectations that leadership will not sit down and do your Excel sheets. You
Correct.
have to do it. So give them only the simple and the practical part to do. They are enablers. They are not the core doers of this program.
Right.
Next is, it's very important that we enable them to be effective talent managers. They should, if we are choosing them to be mentors in the company, if we are asking them to address the top talent or the new hires, or maybe send out a congratulatory email or something like that. So these are things which we have to enable them to do, so that they work as good talent managers. And so this equipping has to be done by the talent manager and HR team. So that's some of the things that we have to do to ensure that the leadership is on board, and they are part of this program. So moving on, uh, there are multiple kind of skills which you need, which are not kind of run of the mill skills. For example, if I'm sure your organization is spread across multiple countries,
Right.
and it would be, sometimes what happens is that people travel from one country to another and they don't know what to expect.
Mm,
So I had gone to Egypt to do a session for their managers, and I just went preparing my modules and kind of being ready to deliver a good session. But what I discovered was that their ability to speak English is very limited,
mm,
and so I had to switch strategy and get certify some people who are good in English and allow them to take over the session. So I would just come in between, be in and out, be part of the session, but more as a observer rather than a participant, rather than a facilitator. So cultural skills is something that we have to be very sensitive to, particularly in situations where we are globally spread out. And also, now that we are interacting through Zoom and other platforms, again, we have to be very sensitive about culture.
mm,
Um, and it's really amazing, how different cultures have different preferences, priorities. For example, in one training session I walked into in South Africa, I saw some of the participants were sitting they were wearing shorts, and I was pretty shocked. How can you come to
mm,
office in shorts? And so the manager told me, no, this is okay, it's not against the dress code. So I had to kind of, you know, it time to accept that.
yeah, yeah.
So because generally in India we associate that with
Mm,
casualness, and
right.
while so I could not digest that I had a
Yeah.
set of people in the class who were so casual. But anyway, that's part of the culture, and one has to accept. Well,
Mm,
again, one of my friends, she was training in China, and she told me that it is very tough to encourage participant to ask more questions, because
mm,
in China, training or a trainer is like a guru, and so the guru cannot be asked. Guru knows everything. So they would be very hesitant in asking questions, and so they had to be prodded to ask, and the, so cultural skills are very subtle, and it's very important as part of talent management that one identifies the right skills, the right gaps. Uh, you know, uh, you must be dealing with a lot of people from America.
yeah, yeah.
So they,
US is a total different ball game.
yeah,
I mean, we
absolutely.
still struggling with the interactions with the US counterparts because they tend to be very in your face and rude.
Yeah,
They may not that which may not be intentional, but most of the other countries are still struggling to cope up with the mindset, the way of work. It's always a struggle.
yes, that's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
true. So they are very in your face, and they're blunt. And
Mm,
so, particularly Asian cultures take that as offensive. Uh,
mm,
but I guess that's part of the learning. So this is something that one has to be very careful about, ensure that people are sensitive about this. Then another set of skills is financial skills, because more and more important is the fact that financial skills now is not restricted only to finance. So all
right.
good operations managers, all good leaders need to understand that financial skills are very critical. So
Right.
therefore, this is something where one has to plan. Next is sales skills. So sales team is of course there, but very often what happens is that you have to do not just hunting, but you have to do, you have to cultivate your existing clients as well.
Mm,
And there are sales opportunities with your existing clients, and only if you have that sales acumen, you are able to leverage that and get more business from your existing clients,
right.
because sales team will not come and deal with your existing clients in your day-to-day operation. So that is up to the regular operating manager how to ensure that they are able to extract more.
Mhm.
Next is collaboration, like we talked about earlier. So collaboration is very, very critical. People have to collaborate and work together, particularly with more and more people coming face to face in these Zoom sessions. So suddenly, uh, you kind of meet people from all kinds of cultures, and one is not really planned for something like that. So, for example, in Delhi, we are slightly more aggressive than people tend to be
Mm.
in other parts of the world.
Mm. Yeah.
And so, like in a particular session, the participants from Delhi were, far more aggressive compared to Vietnamese who are not aggressive at all.
Mm. Mm.
And but at the same time, they're pretty firm. But we mistake their lack of aggression of this aggression as being soft, which they are not.
Mm. Okay.
So how does one collaborate, when situation is such? So these are very important. And then, of course, different people have different experiences, and how does the organization leverage those experiences? So these are very important things to look out for when you're doing your talent planning. Um, okay, so how does one do that is through assessments, and again, that particular survey which I was referring to earlier, done by Harvard Business School. So they saw that assessments are fairly common right across the globe, and for recruitment, every organization, at least 75%, are using some kind of assessments. They may not be, well-known psychological tools, but everybody has kind of created some kind of assessment of their own, and 75% are doing it. They have, people have identified successors, and again, through assessments, assessments are used to identify successors. And when you use assessments, uh, the chances are that you are able to kind of uh, retain higher profits. So assessments kind of give you a very formal tool to be able to uh, identify the right talent, and then grow the right talent. So
Right.
assessments are pretty useful, and they also result in 2.5 higher profits. Another statistic says that organizations which have a formal talent management process and policy, they tend to be 15% more profitable than organizations which don't have that. So that's something which is useful for one to know, and also encourage organizations, as one kind of works in organizations, to have a proper formal talent management process in place. Okay.
Right.
So now now we were talking about the planning part so far. Then we come to learning and development, which is a very important part of talent management. So here it helps us, keep up with the change. Uh, we get to know the latest technology. Technology is changing regularly, so unless one trains people on new technologies or hires people who know the new technologies, then the organization otherwise would become dated. So L&D helps us keep abreast with the latest technology, and stay ahead of competition, needless to say. So L&D performs a very critical role, and this is a key pillar of talent management.
Right.
And again, when we are doing strategy, we will talk more about L&D. So one regular complaint that leadership have on L&D is that one is they find it expensive. Second, they find that they cannot pinpoint the benefits emerging from L&D.
Mm.
So the first part is, if people find it expensive, they should try doing without it, which they can't. They realize that
Correct.
L&D
Correct.
something uh, that is kind of much required. And second is how one does L&D. That basically decides whether one is able to capture the benefits emerging from L&D. So that is the evaluation part, which probably we can discuss sometime later, but it's
Right.
very critical. And last but not the least is increase job satisfaction. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Hawthorne experiments, which happened in the US in the 1930s. So basically, some uh, management experts, they were trying to look at the impact of light on productivity in the factory.
Mhm.
So they chose one group and improved their lighting in that particular section of the factory significantly, while the other group continued to work in the normal light conditions. So they found that the group on whom the company had improved the light significantly, that group became much more productive than the regular groups. So so the management experts said, "Wow, we have just discovered that the level of light makes a big difference on productivity." So they were very happy about it. So then they asked the workers who were in that group that, so you were not able to see earlier, and now you were able to see properly, and therefore you were more productive, right? They said, no, that's not the case. We just felt that when you increase the lights, the organization cares for our eyes and cares for us. And that's why we felt more motivated to work harder, and we worked hard. Even in the earlier lighting level that you had, we had no problems in seeing. It was absolutely fine. But next time round, when you increase the lighting, we really felt that, it's a very caring organization. And therefore, we also try to give back as much as possible. So L&D has a huge impact on motivation levels, and uh, it kind of therefore results in higher satisfaction when you do L&D. So people often feel that it improves the skills and the competency, but no, it also improves the orientation towards the organization in terms of satisfaction. So okay, and L&D also definitely helps in attracting new talent. Some organizations, but unfortunately very few, some organizations are known for investing in talent. So GE was an organization which was known for having a lot of training sessions, having a lot of new talent development programs. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but uh, a large number of US companies today have CEOs who originally were in leadership positions in GE. So they have a leadership development center near New York called Crotonville, and a large number of leaders, emerge from there who are very good business leaders, and not able to grow in GE. They go elsewhere and do very well. So, for example. Uh, about yeah, the guy who was the CEO of Walmart, then um, Allied Signals, then one or two other large organizations are now headed by people who are from GE. So uh, this organization was able to attract talent, and one of the USPs was that they help develop people. And personally, I would say that that's absolutely correct. They got me certified on MBTI, on Six Sigma, on project management professional, PMP. So it's like, in 6 years, they invested enough to ensure that, you grow with lifelong certifications, and which will help you, for the rest of your career. Okay. So next is identify, so L&D and then succession planning is again a very important part of talent management. So some critical positions need to be identified, senior leadership positions, some mid-level management positions, some positions where, unique skills are required. So these are critical positions, and so therefore it's very important that this it's important that all positions are backed up, but particularly more important is to back up key positions, because if any of the key positions, if they leave the organization, or something untoward happens to them, so there would be a direct impact on the business. So therefore, at least the critical, senior, and unique skills positions, they need to have 100% backing. They need to be backed up with um, talent pipeline, And so therefore that's where succession planning plays a very critical role, and one has to ensure business continuity.
Mm.
So then there are positions which require specific knowledge, and I think increasingly we are coming across a lot of new technologies that are there in the market which require specific knowledge like AI, data analytics, machine learning, IoT, etc., etc. So so you are now dealing with a lot of profiles and skill sets where they have specific knowledge, and if they leave the organization suddenly, there could be a adverse impact on business continuity.
Right.
So very critical part of talent management is to ensure succession planning.
Mm.
So how one identifies is naturally one looks at strengths, development areas, and whatever experience they bring to the table. Uh, so so that's very important. Like in the training team currently, uh, uh, in the training team I look after, you have a lot of trainers who are certified as trainers, who have gone through train the trainer program. But I have one manager who used to develop modules. He's very good at developing modules, and so that's a experience that he carries with him, thanks to his previous stints. So therefore, when one is doing a succession planning, one has to kind of keep in mind the the various kind of skills that people bring to the table.
Right.
So so now once you identify them, it's very important to develop very robust IDPs or individual development plans for each of
Mm.
them, their strengths, the development areas, and what kind of experience that is required for them to uh, learn, and ensure that they kind of create that talent pipeline which is required. So these are some of the things additionally you can do.
Right.
Address skill gaps, consider their past experience, including training, coaching, on
Mm.
the job training. So these are all things which should be part of an IDP. Okay,
Right.
so here are some tools which I thought I would share. So I think last time you had mentioned
Yeah.
yeah, so
The
you're
nine box. Yeah.
yeah, the nine box. So you are already using it. So I
Mm.
think we will kind of skip it. The other participants been there, we could have discussed it. But so you have you know nine.
Excuse me, sir. I would like to interrupt. I've
Yeah,
just
sure.
joined, but then I would like to understand what is the tool, nine box tool, if you could explain in brief.
Yes, sure. So
Thank you.
yeah, no problems. So as you can see, this is a nine blocker.
It's not visible, the Pankaj.
Oh, okay.
The press. Mm.
Just one second. Okay, can you see this now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So so basically this is a tool which allows you to evaluate people on their performance potential and values, and you can see that at one on the x-axis you have potential, and on the y-axis you have their current performance. So generally what happens is that in every organization you have people being evaluated on performance, and here you can evaluate them on performance, but as well as what are they likely to do in the organization, what is the potential they have. They may not have performed very well in one particular year, but if they have the potential, then chances are that they will be able to make up next year and next to next year. Therefore, it is very important to look at all employees from the perspective that their immediate performance may or may not be good, but they have high potential. And it works vice versa also. Their potential, their performance may have been very good, but do you want to promote this person? And for that you will have to look at their potential grid also. And there you may not see that this person, while he has performed well, but seems to have medium or low potential. In that case, I would so for example, here you have a case performance is exceeds expectations, but potential is low. So here is a you can see my cursor, develop. So this is a strong performer who may not move into a higher role. Focus on this individual's continued motivation and commitment. Consider using this individual to develop others. And also, so here is a person you would like to develop. A
Okay.
person uh, so you have different strategies for people falling in the grid and in different boxes. Okay. Now, for this person, because their performance is good, but their potential is low, you may want to explore giving them a role which is a individual contributor role. You may not want to grow them to the next level, but give them allow them to operate on the current level and encourage them to continue to perform as well as they are performing. Now, in a nine blocker, the most important box is the inverted L. Inverted L is somebody who's here, who's very high, who's on the highest level of performance, and at the same time, he or she has the highest potential also. So therefore, this person at the top right box is a future leader of the company who has mastered the current role and is ready for a new challenge, which may include promotion. And so therefore, you can see the last three words, retention is critical. Okay, so this person has to be retained in the company, hook or by crook.
Yeah. So I just have one more question.
Yeah, please.
Maybe I've just joined the session. Maybe that's the reason I am coming up with this question. But then when we plot people on this grid, so how do we do that? Is that through performance appraisal only, or is there some other mechanism that we get to understand whether the person is lying to 3 by 3 or 6 by 6, so that we can exactly plot the people vis-a-vis their potential as well as the promotion that they will be eligible for. So how do we do that? Is it only based on the performance appraisal, or is there something else also?
Okay, so it is done generally through performance appraisal. However, the flavor kind of varies organization to organization. So, Arpita, would you like to share how it is done in your organization?
Yeah, for us, it is performance appraisal only the first part, because then the management is also available, the entire leadership, since the discussions are on. So we combine our competency ratings, the mapping of it, how it has gone through the year, and then we combine this with that discussion. So it's a steady flow. So it really helps, and we review it on an annual basis. On the if there are any changes to be made, it gets reviewed also. But that's the best way of doing, we feel. That's the time when they are focused on this discussion.
Okay. Thank you so much, Arpita, for sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Pallavi.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I think Pallavi has a point. Uh, how does this happen? And Arpita, thanks for sharing that. I would like to share how this happens in GE. So, like Arpita said, everywhere it is generally a part of the annual appraisal. However, the annual appraisal, now, for example, performance, I have a performance grid and I can, give a certain score basis the performance of the year. Now, potential tends to be slightly subjective because potential is something the manager is evaluating, and the manager may or may not uh, give the right rating for potential because
Yeah, because at times it happens that managers, they become biased, and
yes,
that is the people keep complaining. So is there some specific mechanism that?
right, yeah, that's what I'm coming to. So it is known as TBDM, which is team based decision making. So what happens is the managers ratings are then shared with HR, and for each level there is a panel. And this is a panel which is not very large, but a panel which is likely to know the people who are being evaluated. So an HR also sits over there. So if I, as a manager, have rated Pallavi medium potential, now this is going to be thrown up in front of the panel, and the panel has to, so that this grid is going to be created in front of them, and the panel will go through all the 9 grids and all the names which are there in the 9 boxes, and they need to agree that yes, Pallavi's performance is very high, but in terms of potential, she is medium potential and not high potential or low potential. So there has to is basically a team-based decision making, so that any biases that the manager may have, gets neutralized, and overall the HR and others, they take a decision. So HR plays the role of a moderator. And suppose somebody has been rated very high by a manager, or somebody has been rated very low, the HR kind of asks and cross questions the manager, how have you done this? So typically, people who are in the middle, they those ratings may not be questioned by the panel or by HR. But if anybody has been rated very high or very low, those are typically the ratings which get questioned. And unless the manager has substantial data to show that why he or she has rated the person like that, otherwise it is not upheld. So therefore, that is the moderation that takes place to neutralize the bias that a manager may have. I'm not saying a manager has, but may have.
Okay. Mhm. So performance matrices to be decided first, and on the basis of those matrices, they try to evaluate the person's performance. And then, in case if it is being somebody is rated very high or low, then they have to give the supporting, documents of supporting, of course, performance of the person to control this. Is that what I have understood is correct?
Yes, performance
Okay.
is
Huh.
extremely data based, while potential is
Huh.
based on observations, and that has to be defended by the manager and is moderated by HR and the panel.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay, so this is one of the tools which is very helpful. And if you have this grid populated for your team, then you know who's where. And this also helps you plan and strategize your talent initiatives across the organization. Okay, so this is one of the tools, and good to know Arpita is already using it, and I think others we also can kind of use this. Another tool is the succession planning template. I will, okay, let me, I think you can't see the screen. So here you can, this is a very good template, and this can be filled up by a talent manager. So like we were talking about earlier, that you have to identify the key profiles, the key leadership profiles, the key skill profiles, key experience profiles, key managers. They need to be identified. Of course, succession planning can be for all the top talent in an organization, but even more so, it is required for key positions. So here in this, it's a simple grid, but at the same time, it captures good information. So what is the position, location, who's the incumbent, is the replacement ready now? If not, replacement ready in 6 to 12 months, ready in 1 to 2 years, or 2 to 3 years. So you get identify all the important positions, all the location, who is the person that you're talking about, and what is the succession planning timeline that you have. Are they ready currently? Is it 6 months? Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? So therefore, uh, you feel that much more secure as far as the important roles are concerned. So this is, I will share this. You can use it, if you wish to.
Yeah.
Any questions, observations, thoughts?
Yeah, okay. No,
Yeah,
please,
go ahead.
please, Arpita. No, please, you
No,
please
no. My
continue.
only question was, Dipankar, sometimes there may be certain roles where replacement may not be ready, readily, either not available within the organization or not possible to develop also. Uh, have you experienced something like that? Because sometimes external is required in certain positions.
No, I
In
completely
the
agree.
in yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree that very often situation happens, for example, like we were talking about new technologies. Now, if
Yeah.
an organization is diversifying into AI and machine learning, so definitely you would need talent from outside, because it's unlikely, if your organization has not been using those technologies,
Mm.
you cannot find people within the organization. Uh, so definitely one has to then decide that they have to get talent from outside.
Yeah.
No, but then in that case also, what I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if
Mm.
there is some new department getting opened up and then we are recruiting, then of course a fresh talent is required. But if you talk about an organized department or an organization also, and they are looking for a technology upgradation, right? In
Mm.
that case also, what we can do, this can be used, I believe so, that they can mention the people, those who can be, in case if they are trained on a specific skill set, can take up this position in a long run, maybe in 6 months time or 7 months time. So at least they must be having some partial capabilities or skill set. Additionally, some additional training would be provided, then I believe so they can also fit into this chart. Not every time we require people to be hired from outside.
Yes, Pallavi. So in that case, one has to look at the timeline. How quickly I need this capability in the organization. If I need it
Hmm.
ASAP, then I may not have time. But yes, if I have a 6 months to 1 year time period for to kind of bring the skill in, then yes, we can develop. If people have similar skills and they have shown the willingness to learn this new skill, which is similar to their existing skill set, definitely we can upskill them, train them, and get them on board in 6 to 12 months or whatever the time period is. But here the
Hmm.
time period plays a very critical role, and how
Hmm.
close the skill is to an existing skill set.
Okay. So my question was related to this only, that who is supposed to maintain the succession plan template? Is this the HR who is going to do that? And or is it the department, senior, the management,
It's
those who are.
HR. It's HR which is supposed to do it, and if HR has a designated talent manager, then
They will be.
talent manager,
Hmm.
yeah, then the talent
All
manager.
right. All right.
Succession planning is a key responsibility of talent management.
Right. Thank you.
We like I can have to do it twice in a year. One is midterm, and one is December. And this actually goes up to our reporting is to APEC, so it goes to Hong Kong, and they review it very seriously. I mean, if there are no successes, up to the business head at the India level has to reply back that why is it not being created. So it's taken, the exercise is taken very seriously.
Okay. Yeah, this should be taken very
Yeah.
seriously, because this is, just like, for example, I'm a production company,
Mm.
and my production is going on. So I have to look at the stock situation time to time, because suddenly if the stock, depletes, and I have not
Mm.
replenished the stock, my production is going to come to a stop.
Right. Right.
And my entire revenue projection will go for a toss. So similarly, this is as serious as evaluating your stock position.
Mm.
Okay, so
Right.
any other
Agreed.
question?
Agreed. No, no other question. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I think let's look at a short video which kind of talks about the talent management model.
You'll be sharing those templates, right, with us?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
will.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hi, a lot of people, including us, are looking for a talent management model, but so far no one has developed such a model yet. In this bite, I will introduce the HR talent management model you can use in order to get the most out of your employees. Stay tuned. Initially developed for marketing purposes, this model shows how customers first get in touch with an organization and eventually end up buying something from that organization. This happens in 5 phases. Let's go through all of them individually, and then I'll explain how the model can be applied to HR. 1. Acquisition. This is all about driving visitors to the organization. 2. Activation. This is the first value experience that is exchanged between the organization and the customer. This can be a customer that leaves their email address in exchange for a monthly newsletter, for example, or customer walking into a brick and mortar shop. 3. Revenue. The first and most important of the R's. Revenue is about getting customers to make a purchasing decision. Needless to say, this is the lifeblood of any business. 4. Referral. Referral is about how to get customers to share others about your organization and your product or service. It is about customers generating more customers. Finally, 5. Retention. How do you retain those buying customers so they come back and buy again? This is about increasing the lifetime value of the customer. Of course, now I could tell you a lot about how useful this model is and how different media channels can be used to acquire and activate customers, encourage them to make purchasing decisions, etc. The big question, however, is how can we apply this model to HR? When we need to create a talent management model, the marketing model I just described works as a perfect template. Employees are very similar to customers, and they go through the exact same process. Let's take a closer look. This is the HR talent management model. Let me walk you through the 5 steps that every employee goes through in this talent management model. 1. Acquisition. Acquisition is all about attracting potential candidates to your organization. In the recruitment world, this is referred to as employer branding. Key questions to be answered in this phase are: how will your candidate get to know you? How will you increase your employer branding so that people will want to work for you? How do you make sure that you are approachable as a company so you can convert the people that know you into people that will want to apply? These are fundamental questions that you need to answer whenever you're serious about becoming a better employer. 2. Activation. Activation is about selection, candidate experience, and getting people onboarded. It's about the organization getting value from employees and employees getting value from the organization. Key questions to be answered in this phase are: how will you select the right people from the talent pool that you've built? How do you make the right selection to avoid bad hires? How will you make sure to create a near-perfect candidate experience? These are the questions you need to answer in order to make sure that you can hire the best people in the market and that the people that you decide not to hire go home feeling good. 3. Revenue. Revenue is about getting the most value out of your people as an organization. Usually, this is done by investing in them, giving them all the tools they need to do their work, and making sure that they deliver the best possible value or work. This includes topics like onboarding, learning and development, and performance management. Key questions to be answered in this phase are: how do you make sure people are onboarded faster? How will you reduce your new hires' time to full productivity? How will you make sure that your people stay competitive and keep performing in the future? Phase 4, referral. Referral is about getting new people by leveraging your current employees and about building your reputation. This can be to attract new employees or to leverage your employees to expand your customer base. This is useful because, as you may know, employee referral programs are very much in fashion. Employees who are referred usually onboard faster, perform better, and are less likely to leave prematurely. Key questions to be answered in this phase are: how do we create an effective employee referral program? How can we make our employees champion our brand? How do we leverage our employees to expand our customer base? Phase 5, retention. Just like you want to retain your customers, you want to retain your employees. If your talent thinks your organization is undesirable to work for, you have a big problem. As HR, you therefore invest in the retention of your talent. Key topics here include retention, happiness, and compensation and benefits. The questions you should ask yourself in this phase are: how will you reduce your voluntary turnover percentage? How will you compensate your employees to ensure that they're happy? How will you use variable pay to make sure your salespeople perform optimally? Retention is about doing everything to keep your best performers and help to build a competitive advantage. If your best employees never leave, you will outperform your competition. To wrap this up, this talent management model helps you to visualize the 5 key phases that employees go through during the time they work at your organization. The model helps to create a better employee experience, and it provides a framework for your talent management initiatives. I would like to challenge you to apply this framework to the current talent management practices in your organization. Identify a room for improvement and come up with specific solutions that will benefit the way you manage talent. That's it for today's bite, in which you've learned what the AARRR model is and what its stages are and how this model can be leveraged for talent management. If you're interested in finding out more about this talent management model, check out the link in our description. Remember to stay up to date with our learning bites by subscribing to our channels, and if you like this video, make sure you like and share it, and I'll see you soon in our next learning bite.
Okay, so that's a nice comparison of what talent management is to marketing, and also capturing the key steps in talent management. Any observations, any thoughts on this video?
From my side, I believe, yeah, this is what the process is. Actually, as a talent manager, we have to manage all these 4 or 5 roles very specifically. Though, what I found, I mean, that this is more theoretical when you talk about how to hire people, right? Especially when you talk about acquisition. So, the brand building, creating an image of your organization in front of the external person who has yet not been hired becomes very, very crucial. So he has simply explained the content, I mean theoretical definition of what means.
Yeah, so this is a very high level view
Mhm.
of the process.
Correct.
Uh, so while we will be kind of going and talking about each aspect of what he has talked about. So
Okay.
okay, so now I wanted to discuss this case. You can read this case. Would anyone like to read this?
Yeah, I'll do that. So the case study is a major hospital in the US state of Georgia called Health Hub had a reputation which had spread beyond the borders of the state. It was modern, however, not state of the art. It was expensive, but services were fairly good, however, not exceptional. It was learned that a major chain of hospitals, Columbus, known globally, had decided to set up a state of the art hospital very close to Health Hub. Initially, it would have only half the number of beds as Health Hub, but would add capacity down the next 1 year. Its services would be priced similarly but would offer the best in class diagnostics and treatment. Health Hub was concerned that employees would leave once a new hospital being built nearby opened its doors. Sorry, Health Hub was concerned that employees would leave once a new hospital being built nearby opened its doors. It commenced workforce planning and decided to hire an HR consultant to devise a talent development model which would help the hospital retain its talent. Now, you are the HR consultant. Please develop a talent development model which will help the hospital stem the loss of talent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you can see this hospital now is in a bit of a difficult situation. You
Right.
have a big player coming in the neighborhood, and so far they have been secure, and so far they have been kind of expensive, but still not really delivering that much value.
Mm.
And now you have an organization coming in which will deliver the best at similar price points, if not lower. So therefore, this hospital now has to create, a set of definitely, if not a full-fledged model, but a very critical actions have to be planned and implemented, where they will be able to ensure that their people are not poached by the new organization that's coming in.
Mm.
So what are the key things you think they should look out for?
So, one of the things is definitely identifying their critical talent, which we had discussed earlier. And then the first part would be to definitely look at ways of retention. So compensation is one part, but how they can be groomed to grow in within the organization. What are the variable pay or incentives, also rewards, recognition, some of the things which could be implemented uh, and looked at. Pallavi, you want to add something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some more that they should be clear about their career plans, that how they will be getting succeeded in the hierarchy, so that they understand that if because they have already spent year in this particular organization, so if they stay some for more time, how they are going to get benefits, not only in terms of compensation but in the career graph also. That is also very important along with the other parameters. But I have one more question before even we start planning for the talent development, and that is that how is the kind of services with this hospital is offering, though they are not as per the benchmark, does it really have a connection uh, with the new competitor who is going to come up? Because if you talk about the employees, I mean, are they really 200% concerned about the kind of services they are providing? They are responsible, no doubt. They are accountable.
So they have to work on both the facets, of course. As a
Ha.
talent manager, we would look at the talent, but definitely they need to work on the pricing, the
Correct,
services
because the
being offered.
competition, yeah,
Uh,
because the new competition is, so from a
uh,
marketing point of view
Correct.
also
So
they
both
have
have
to
to go. Yeah, yeah.
devise a strategy, but we have to look at the one part. Yeah, so compensation, benefits, and critical the talent which has to be retained, which at any cost they cannot let them go. The one
Yeah.
those who are indispensable, they have to be really taken care of. Referrals, they have to really work on the referral program, so that they can build a long list of the referrals in case required. They
Hmm.
have to see that how they will be acquiring the new talent. A new talent agency can be hired. I mean, sorry, not talent agency. The new vendors can be approached.
Also,
Those who can.
maybe
uh,
state of art diagnostics is not there. So what can be done in terms of learning and development in to develop those competencies? If they are wishing to introduce that on time, the team needs to be trained also for that. That's one part maybe which can be looked into.
Yeah. So yeah, you are kind of, we are all thinking on the right lines. Now, when it is confronted with such competition, which is coming from kind of a global chain
Hmm.
that is coming in the neighborhood, so they really have to look up in terms of the technology they are using, in terms of their service levels, and in terms of retaining their employees
Right.
who are likely to be poached. So, the word development in talent development, learning and development really comes from not just developing them in the here and now, but developing them across a span of time. So here, what they have to do is they have to first of all, like Arpita rightly said, identify who are the key people in terms of skills, experience, seniority. So who are the key people that they would, like to ensure that they never get poached. So first is identify them. Second is ring fence them. Create a certain set of incentives. So when we talk of development, we say that in the next 5 years, give them we talked about an individual development plan. Similarly, a development plan across many years. Next is give them a, variable part which is annual, also a variable part which is, spread across 2 or 3 years, a deferred income.
Yeah, ESOP could be,
Yeah,
really attracting.
yeah, ESOP or a deferred income plan, whatever, that is a comp and ben can kind of create that sort of a thing. Then third is create a, learning path for them where they get certified and add value to their credentials in the market, so that they know that if I stay over here, I'm going to be upskilled on XYZ program, which will ensure my market value significantly. So therefore, even if I get counter offers, I would like to stay in this organization. So those are things that they have to do, and of course, they have to also attack at the level of motivation, at the level of developing higher confidence in the organization. If an organization has been carrying on for many years, then it kind of becomes flat in terms of employee engagement, in terms of creating more motivational programs. So now they have to go back and do all of those things to ensure that their top talent is not poached by this new company that is coming.
Also, the category which is that the good performance but maybe low to average potential, which are the masses. I think this engagement thing really comes in useful, because sometimes the critical people or the top level teams may be poached, but these are the people who really take a organization through tough times, because they are there, they have the experience, so they need to be really developed and looked after as well, because they are there for a certain amount of time. They know the setup well, and sometimes they really rescue during difficult times.
Yes, you are absolutely
Yeah.
right. They are the kind of the spine of the organization.
Yeah.
And so therefore the organization should be very sensitive to their requirements and how to nurture these people who perhaps have been overlooked by the top talents. They are not top talent, but they are the middle performers, and in any organization they tend to be the spine of an organization, because the top talents, while they are top talents, they also have a tendency of leaving the organization moment they get the opportunity, because they know that they are very good, and there is a demand for them in the market. While the people who are the next level, they are not so fleet-footed. They are not so eager to move out, because they are not as confident as the top talents are. I have also come across hiring managers who deliberately don't hire top talent. They say, no, no, these people are very difficult to retain. So हमें ये टॉप टैलेंट नहीं चाहिए, हमें नेक्स्ट लेवल चाहिए जो बहुत अच्छे नहीं ना हो चाहे, मगर वो बुरे भी नहीं है, and they are people who are easy to retain, because otherwise we will get the top guys and they will leave within 2
Right.
months. We will incur a huge expenditure without any gains. So so you are right, Arpita. We should also look at people who are mid potential, high performance. That these people should also be motivated. So great. I think good insights. Unfortunately, we are just three of us today. So
Yeah.
it could have been a better discussion had there been more people with more insights. But anyway, so I will, kind of, this brings me to the close of the session. Any thoughts, observations, inputs that anybody would like to share?
It was really interesting. I think we captured a fair bit. Deepanka, is there any book also, or any website or anything which we can read in addition to this?
I will,
Since the first that we started last time,
right.
to add on,
Yeah, I
because
will,
it's really the surveys and all are especially very useful. The live thing which is being shared.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will, I should be able to come across
Okay.
some good reading material. I
Yeah.
will share that across.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a help, of
Sure.
course.
Okay.
Great. So, Arpita and Pallavi, thanks for joining in. And
Thank you.
Thanks for the session, and especially on this day when and really sorry that I joined in late. I put an alarm. I don't know, somebody snoozed it in my family, and that's the reason I just realized that my class is almost half gone, more than that, in fact. Well, good that whatever I have been able to catch, yeah, that was really very helpful for me, and I'll be able to retain it also.
Yeah. They share the
Thank you.
YouTube, I guess. You can catch up on it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
okay, have a
Thanks,
great week ahead.
Deepanka. You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Thanks, Arpita.
Thanks. Bye, Pallavi.
Okay.
Yeah, bye
Okay,
bye.
sir.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Arun.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Arun sir,
Okay. Thank you,
yeah,
ma'am.
bye bye.
Okay. Hello, ji. Close the session.